Hi, I'm Callaghan, and I've just finished making another model ship. This is Shrimpie the shrimp boat. Many years ago now I started making model ships. I thought they'd be a good idea to give one to each of my grandchildren so that they have a memory of me. Now I've got 7 grandchildren and now I've got 15 model ships, but this one is for my grandson Dan. And Shrimpie the shrimp boat has had quite a checkered history in the building, so I'm going to take you through the process of how I built this for Dan. And I must say it's been an extremely enjoyable build. This is a scratch build, so there's no kit set. It's purely me working out what to do and making it how I want it to turn out. So here's the story of Shrimpie the shrimp boat. I started the project with an internet search for shrimp boat plans and found this one on freeshipplans.com. And so I downloaded it and printed it, and then I realized that it's a wee bit small, so I photocopied it at double size. Then I cut out the parts and I decided to use base wood as my basic wood for the project, put it on there and cut the pieces out. A critical choice at this stage was how you orientate the little pieces on the wood in regard to the grain. I found that if you put it the wrong way, then the little bits break. So you've got to choose the direction of the grain that makes the pieces the strongest. Pretty soon I discovered that all the little bits and pieces weren't going to fit perfectly, so I decided to make a cardboard practice frame so that I could get all of the notches in the correct place. Then from that built the final rear deck there, and then covered it with bits of mahogany that I happen to have from previous builds. So now I know that it's going to fit properly, and it's also already got its decking timber ready in place. Well, I've now made good progress on the hull. The top decks are now in place, and with their mahogany there, all the frames are right and reinforcing and strengthening, and also lots of preparation for when I put the lining of the hull on place, so that there's always somewhere that I can glue things onto. So good progress on the old shrimp boat. Now a couple of weeks later I've made even more progress, and the whole of the hull now is ready for its lining. One thing I found when you're doing a scratch build like this is that you always have to think ahead. So for example, painting of the surrounds here on the deck is very, very complicated. So I decided to do that beforehand, and the way I did it was to get bits of the wood and then cover it with a light cardboard, which is already white. Saved me actually having to paint it. In previous builds, when you come to this stage, I've always done planking of the hull. But when I did the little tugboat that was very similar to this shrimp boat last time, I found it was quite difficult to do the planking on such a small ship, so I tried to do it with cardboard. Well, this time I'm going to do it slightly differently. I like doing things different. So I've got some of these plates which are made out of wood, and it's very, very thin wood. So I'm going to try and do the lining of the hull using the wood, and you'll see if I just put it on, it bends around quite nicely. Look at that. And so a few layers of that might be quite a good way of doing the lining of the hull. Maybe a lot easier than doing it by planking. We shall certainly find out, won't we? Well, as you can see, I've made a little bit of progress lining the hull. I've learnt the characteristics of this wood. It's brilliant for going in directions like that. But if you try and bend it into a direction this way, it is very inflexible. So for this section here, for example, it went on perfectly, both sides. Down here I've had to make it in parts, and just through here it was not very good at all. It didn't want to fit. It didn't want to get out of its natural shape. So I tried packing it with little pieces here. And the alternative was to cut the little pieces to shape and fit them in. And I think this approach is much better than this when the wood doesn't want to go where you want it to go. So it's been an interesting learning curve. All I'm trying to do at this stage is provide a framework as for the final coat, which will be another layer of this on the outside here. And once it goes on, it's quite strong, and hopefully it'll make a nice surface. Well, I've now completed the first layer, giving a framework for the next layer to go on top. And you can see all the different approaches that I've used to provide that framework, because the wood doesn't take up the shape easily. So there's different techniques there. But the idea is that it provides a framework for the next layer, and you can see even though it's pretty rough underneath, the next layer I should be able to get it nice and smooth like that. I used super glue to seal up all of these little joints, and then gave everything a sand, so we're ready now to put the outer layer on top. Well, I've now made some more progress and got the outer skin all the way down to the waterline, and you'll see I've been able to make it in 3 pieces. At the top there, 1 piece through here, and it's come out very nice. This 3rd piece here really looks great. Now, there's been lots of learning involved. I found that along the seams here, I have to have it so that there is always something for this wood to glue onto, so that I'll then be able to butt the next level back up against it as well. It will not move out of its natural shape. You can see on the other side here, I've had to do lots of packing here because it would not move out of its natural shape. But I think through it all, I still do like using this wood as the outer skin of the model. It is making a very nice surface that I'll then have to fill in sand and paint, but it doesn't look too bad at all, I reckon. Easier than planking, perhaps. I've been using an all-purpose contact adhesive as my main glue, occasionally reinforced with super glue. But for the outer planking here, I've changed over to a wood glue, PVA wood glue. And it's working very, very nicely with good grip, holding that outer skin down. Next step was to put on a couple of coats of paint to provide a foundation for the filling. I've used an all-purpose primer sealer, and it has shown up all the imperfections in the surface. And I'm going to use a patch filler to fill up all of those imperfections, try and get the whole thing nice and smooth. So there'll be plenty of sanding, reapplying of the filler, trying to get it all nice and smooth. Ooh, beautifully smooth. Well, the basics of the hull now are complete, both sides. Got 4 coats of undercoat on there. Made a little cradle for the ship to sit on. And I'm starting to work out possible arrangement of the various parts of the superstructure. Trying to work out what I think is best. When you do a scratch build, you can make your own decisions about what you think you would like to have. And got my grandson to 3D print various parts. They came out really good. And I've gathered all the little bits and pieces that could go onto the model as well. So it feels like some progress now. It's starting to get some idea of what the final model will look like. I'm doing lots of experimentation on this particular build. You can see here that rather than painting the wood, I've been covering it with thin cardboard. I reckon it looks even better than painting. Then for the railings, I've always had trouble with them, so I thought I'd try using cotter pins, because you've got a hole on the top of it and you can put the second railing there through the centre of the cotter pin. So that's what it'll look like, something like that. Probably need to strengthen it with super glue and paint it as well. I do like trying new things. I really think that this way of making a hull is really quite good. Having 2 layers of thin wood gives it a framework, and then using the filler on the outside means that I can get a nice smooth surface for the paint job that's coming up afterwards. Well, I've made lots of progress now with the shrimp boat. Things are starting to come together and get an idea of what the finished model will be like. I've made the railings here. They were very difficult, using cotter pins and string. My grandson made a nice winch for the anchors. And the wheelhouse here, that's all come together nicely. And even put a little captain in there who is driving the ship. These paint pieces here have all been made by my grandson with 3D printing, therefore manipulating the nets. And more winches here. This is a hatch for where the shrimp are to be stored. This is a sorting area for the shrimp once they come on board. And then at the back here, we've got the engine room. So basically, the hull is pretty much complete now and ready for painting. I always find that joining a line between 2 colors is very, very difficult. So I always try and have one color, another color, and then a piece of card or a piece of wood in a contrasting color between them. So that's the next step. I've done the keel here and made a little rudder as well. So really good progress. It's all about finishing now and making the whole model look really, really nice. I've decided to go with a blue and white theme for the hull. And as I said, it's very difficult to get the line between the 2 colors looking really good. So with a little bit of paper, black paper, you put that over the edge, and doesn't that look good now? It just transforms the whole thing. Having that black strip there just makes all the difference. It just looks, the whole thing looks so much better. Well, the hull is now all complete, and I reckon it looks really nice. And I've got all of the various parts that will go onto the decks here. They're also all complete. So the final part of the build is to assemble everything together and then to do the rigging. First of all, I attached the hatch where the shrimp is stored and the sorting area, and then towards the back there, the engine room. Then I made some anchors and attached them to some chains that I had from a previous build and fitted them to the winch at the front here, the winch that my grandson had printed for me. Next step was to attach the wheelhouse, and then I moved to the rear deck and built all the framework that is used for manipulating the shrimp once they have been caught. A particularly important part of that was making the outriggers here, and they go out to the side and drag a cone-shaped net behind the shrimp boat, which is how they actually catch the shrimp. I had to make all of the rigging above this framework as well for how they can manipulate and bring the shrimp back on board. In a model like this, I think it's very important that there's lots of interesting things for people to look at. The colours and the various details that you put on a model are very, very important to make everything stand out and ping. And so on this particular model, I put a little sailor here and put different colours, different little pieces, bits and pieces along the way to try and make the whole thing have interest for those who are watching. And so finally, and perhaps sadly, Shrimpie the shrimp boat is now complete. It has been a thoroughly enjoyable build. I learnt so many new techniques, especially using that very thin wood as the framework for my hull, and also having parts which are 3D printed. They are quite fragile, and so I learnt that I needed to strengthen them if I was going to put them on a ship like this. But overall, I think Shrimpie the shrimp boat looks really great, and it has been a most pleasant build. I found that I really do like doing scratch builds. The little tugboat and the tow rower that I made, I think, are my best models along with Shrimpie here, rather than the all pre-made kits. So it's sort of become a source of pride, if you like, to make something really special, but to do it from scratch. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Gives you maybe a bit of motivation to go out and make a model ship yourself and maybe do it as a scratch build like this.